Hello and welcome to our annual RFK Urban Education Awards and Leaders That Can ceremonies. My name is Michael Druckman. It's been our honor for each of the last 8 years to partner with Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights to recognize a school leader, a teacher, and student for fulfilling the values of moral courage that Senator Kennedy so valued, and also to recognize leaders who give back to their communities with our Leader That Can awards. This year, we are once again honoring our awardees in a virtual space, but hope by next year we will be able to return to an in-person venue to celebrate the accomplishments of these extraordinary individuals. We will start with our Leader That Can awards now. I'm going to call up a colleague or friend of each awardee to introduce them, and on behalf of Schools That Can, to present each honoree with their award, which has been sent to their homes. Each respected honoree will then honor us with some reflections. Our final Leader That Can awardee will be Dr. Janice Jackson, who will also honor us by giving a short keynote. We will then shift to our RFK awards, and I'll return at that point to introduce our presenter. Our first Leader That Can introducer will be Chester Lee, an esteemed prior Schools That Can board member who knows our Leader That Can honoree, Gary DeBode, well. Chester, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me? Hopefully you can.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
great.
we can.
Okay. Yeah, please allow me these 2 minutes to introduce you to your first honoree, Gary DeBode. Many of you know that real estate is Gary's profession, was and is. In fact, it was in his role as CEO of Edison Properties when I met Gary years ago. But many of you also know that education, particularly education, attainment, accessibility, and equality, is Gary's passion. Since 2020, Gary has been the president of Americans for Ben Gurion University in Israel. As Michael mentioned, Gary in 2010 started working with Schools That Can, first with the Newark Advisory Board, and then from 2012 to 2019, served on the national board. Gary was the chairperson of the very important governance committee of Schools That Can. And for those of you legal nerds, we rewrote the bylaws of Schools That Can and put in place some best practices in the corporate procedure area. All Gary was in charge of. So that was a tremendous benefit for Schools That Can, in addition to other things that he did for Schools That Can. Some of you who've been involved in SCC know some of these things already. But what some of you don't know is that Gary's been involved in education in other places as well. He has been on the board of Newark Academy Charter School in Newark, KIPS, New Jersey, as well as Brick Education. And before I hand it off to Gary, I want you to know that before doing any of these things, Gary and his wife Archie was also involved in another education, educating their 3 daughters, Lily, Sophie, and Ella. So education is literally in his DNA. Gary, take it away.
Great. Oh, thank you so much, Chester. I really appreciate your kind words. Working with wonderful people like you and the many others is the added benefit of being engaged with Schools That Can. It's truly my honor to have had the opportunity to be a small part of the important work of Schools That Can, to create life-changing opportunities for kids in our communities. I was recently in Israel and spent some time in the city of Beersheba, which has a high minority population of Bedouins, a traditionally nomadic population of Arab citizens who live in makeshift villages off the grid. In talking with a community-based NGO there that works in Israel, I learned of the shocking similarities between the experience in our cities in the US and those of the Bedouin children, who also experience serious social, economic, and educational challenges. Decades of neglect created tragic outcomes for our most economically challenged students around the world. The acceptance of poor results and the lack of clear vision and determination to solve these challenges became commonplace, and the result we have all seen is loss of opportunity and equity. This, of course, is a global problem, but we are not exempt from it here in the US. The good news, when there is so much bad news these days, is that the work of our schools can and does make a difference, creating opportunities, learning, and guidance to help our students achieve. As I reflect back, I remember when I first got involved with Schools That Can. I previously spent many years of my volunteer time working in homelessness in New York City and came to realize the effort was addressing problems much too late, and that my time would be better invested to help break the cycle through educational reform. This was back when Waiting for Superman was shining a spotlight on some of the inequity in our schools, and amazing charter schools like KIPP and Uncommon were sprouting up around the country, while other success-driven public, independent, and faith-based schools were looking for new ways to enhance their impact. Norman Atkins, a friend and the founder of Uncommon Schools, is a leader I have tremendous respect for. He and his team have done so much for education reform. When he saw me searching for a place to engage in this work, he suggested I reach out to Schools That Can. At the time, I was on the board of an independent school in Newark, St. Philip's Academy, a great school with an unsustainable funding model that later became a charter and continued to flourish and grow to other cities in New Jersey. But I was looking for more, so I reached out to Michael Druckman, as Norman suggested. Michael and I had a long lunch, and he sprinkled me with his magic dust that inspired me to see how I could help in Newark, where there were then 3 STC schools, including St. Benedict's Prep. With my business in Newark, I was aware of the larger-than-life headmaster of St. Benedict's, Father Edwin Leahy, but I had never met him in person. To this day, he is a seasoned change agent in Newark, a brilliant, committed leader who is street smart with a tough love style and is respected by the community for his work over decades in Newark. I sought out Father Edwin, and in the process, I met a young attorney who was an alum of St. Benedict's, Josh Thompson. Together, Josh and I took on the challenges of growing Schools That Can Newark, engaging with the public, charter, independent, and faith-based schools to break down communication barriers and then identify and share effective practices. What we found was a great network of educators who were eager to learn and share ways to impact the students with peer schools. At the time, the Schools That Can chapters were all volunteer-led. But Josh and I both had day jobs and quickly realized the outcomes we wanted to achieve could not be attained without a dedicated professional. So we raised the funds and staffed the chapter, and after a few laps around the track, brought in Erin Sweeney, who we are honoring today, who also came from St. Benedict's family, having been engaged in the Schools That Can community of educators in Newark. Recruiting Erin was the single most important thing we ever did. With a little support from the sidelines, Erin and her team have developed a community that has prospered and became the model for other Schools That Can cities. The programs and results have touched the lives of thousands of students looking for opportunities to propel their future. I've learned that Schools That Can, led by Michael Druckman and our amazing board and professionals, can make a big difference. There's no silver bullet, but through hard work and engagement of many partners, we can solve these challenges. We have witnessed the growth of our students in Newark and elsewhere through the programming and partnerships that have come out of Schools That Can and our partner schools. Schools That Can has been working with its many great partner schools and their communities to change the paradigms, to raise the expectations of how we can address the challenges that have historically limited achievement in our schools. Today, we continue to experience groundbreaking improvement across our diverse cross-sector school communities, where we empower school leaders and students with the programming that changes mindsets and outcomes, creating a path for career and college readiness. The work is far from done, but from my perspective, we clearly are seeing the rewards of the hard work of our communities that are raising the bar for educational excellence. Thank you so much for this honor today. It truly means a lot to me to be honored by all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We cherish your contributions. Thank you so much for those comments. And our next introducer is our own Ashaki Goodall, who has worked with our awardee, Erin Sweeney, at Schools That Can Newark for several years and knows her well. Ashaki, thank you for delighting us with your presence and your introduction.
Thank you, Michael. So greetings. My name is Ashaki Goodall, and I'm the current Director of Programs for Schools That Can Newark. It is my sincere honor to introduce our next Leader That Can awardee, my colleague and my friend, Erin Sweeney. I met Erin almost 3.5 years ago when I was looking for a way to really connect to my adopted hometown of Newark. Erin was the first person to talk to me about Schools That Can, and it was clear during that phone call how much Erin loved Newark and had a passion for helping young people. Over the years, Erin never hesitated to engage me in more conversations about Newark or take me to events where she was the social butterfly and I was her student. Erin has always supported me and others who've worked on our team. She's always been eager to make sure we A, developed and nurtured our own love for Newark, B, showcased our individual talents, and C, followed our passions. And she always led by example. During my time knowing Erin, not only has she led STC Newark, but she has pursued a law degree, been a Girl Scout troop leader extraordinaire, bought and renovated a house, got married, and had an adorable baby girl named Grace, who is now 10 weeks old today. Erin truly amazes me. I have no idea where she gets all of her energy. I absolutely admire Erin for her academic, professional, and personal achievements. I will miss Erin and our humorous conversations, especially about 90 Day Fiancé, but I'll always carry just a little bit of Erin with me as I am very, very close to mastering her superpower of a zero inbox. Erin, I could think of no person more worthy of this award.
Thank you so much, Ashaki. I really appreciate it. And yes, lots of great 90 Day Fiancé. So if anybody ever wants to talk about that with me, feel free to let me know. So I just want to thank Ashaki for the kind introduction and to Schools That Can for this great honor. I typed up a few notes of just some thoughts as I think back over the last 7 years that I've been at Schools That Can, especially as I prepare for the next chapter in my life. So just a few memories and reflections from the past couple of years. In the summer of 2015, Casey Lamb, who was STC's former, I'm calling her the wearer of all hats, cornered me literally in a bathroom at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. We were both attending a meeting about STEM programming, and I knew Casey from my time at St. Benedict's because I had often been the staff member tapped to represent St. Benedict's at Schools That Can Newark gatherings, which were often led by the amazing Stephanie Lynn, Schools That Can Newark's first full-time director. Casey mentioned that STC Newark was looking for a new executive director and they were interested in me applying. So I'm going to be 100% transparent. I was very much not interested. I've always had a deep love for education and youth development. And for those who don't know me, although this was mentioned previously, I have an insanely deep love of New Jersey and the city of Newark. Yet I didn't think STC was the right organization for me. I felt that STC was doing important work, bringing together district charter and independent leaders, but I wasn't really sure to what end. And I was extremely hesitant about starting a new position where I wasn't sure the impact that we were making. But after being bugged by Michael and Casey, I decided to apply. And I made it very clear during my interviews that if I were selected, I wanted to change everything. I wanted to restructure the programs, focus on different outcomes, and narrow down the mission of the organization. They promised me, as happens a lot in these types of interviews, oh yeah, we'll give you that space, you'll be able to do that. But I didn't really believe them. So when the job was offered to me, I told myself, okay, I'm gonna give it 2 years. And then if they didn't give me that space, I wasn't able to make the changes I wanted, I'll leave. So I think the fact that I sit here in our office 7 years later is proof that they kept their word. Almost pretty much from day one, I was entrusted with the freedom to build Schools That Can Newark into the stronger, bigger, and more impactful organization it is today. In big part, this was due to a lot of people that made that possible. Casey was a great supporter and gave me a lot of guidance. I also really have to shout out Gary Devoti because it was really without him, we would never be where we are today. He was our first advisory board chair and a huge supporter from the beginning. But I'm also grateful to Michael for giving me that long leash so I could build out the new programs. And I do want to just mention that over the last 7 years, I have pushed back all the time to Michael. And there are definitely moments where I thought, okay, I think I pushed back a little too far. Michael is definitely going to fire me. But I'm so grateful that his faith in me never wavered. And as a result, Schools That Can Newark is the powerhouse it is today because of it. And I think Schools That Can as an organization is stronger because of it as well. I'm really, really excited to see all these comments in the chat, and I really appreciate it. And to see so many of you here today that have been part of this journey with me. That has probably been the biggest, greatest fortune of this job, has been to work with literally hundreds of partners, funders, volunteers, advisory board members, and especially the K-12 faculty, staff, and students. So thank you all for being here today. I have to be honest, in those moments where we're working on a project at our program, we can't figure out the schedule, or the buses don't show up, or whatever happens, it's the passion that you all have for the work that you do that's motivated me to find the solutions and make our programs as good as possible. But I also couldn't have done it alone, and I've had the amazing privilege of working with some of the best in the business. So I want to especially shout out our first manager of programs, Tiffany Jackson, and of course the amazing Ashaki Goodall, our future executive director. Building this program, all these programs, was only possible because the team believed as passionately as I did in the brilliance of our youth. And we all agreed that Newark youth deserve the most high quality programming we could produce. I also have to add here that it's really rare when you're leaving an organization you've put so much into it to leave knowing that you're actually leaving it in even better hands. Yet that's what's happening here. I'm so grateful to be handing off the organization to Ashaki Goodall. I know she'll do even better and bigger things with Schools That Can Newark than I could have ever imagined. I just for a second want to mention what I'm doing next, because I've gotten a lot of questions about that. So for those who don't know, my passion for youth development and education is rivaled only by my passion for immigration law and policy, hence 90 Day Fiancé. For the past 4 years, I've been attending Rutgers Law School, as was mentioned, part-time to pursue a new career as an immigration attorney. I just graduated, and I will begin this fall as an Equal Justice Works Fellow and staff attorney at Kids in Need of Defense, or KIND, Newark. There I'll be representing unaccompanied children through immigration proceedings, but I'll also be working on a project that is to improve educational outcomes and access to educational resources for immigrant children. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be in town. I'll still be in the nonprofit space. I'll still be working with youth, but now I finally have a job that brings the two passions together. So it's graduation season, and I feel like in these speeches, you're supposed to leave like inspirational thoughts or something. And I really struggled to think of anything really inspirational to say. So I just wanted to leave a thought that came to me today as I was walking to work. I have this amazing privilege that every day I get to walk around the city of Newark. I get to visit schools, meet with community leaders, and be inspired. Our children are brilliant. Our K-12 faculty and staff are committed. Our community members are passionate. And I can think of no more amazing place to be, live, study, or work than the city of Newark. Many of you on this Zoom tonight, you work or you study or live in Newark. And there are probably some of you on this call who have never been to Newark, or maybe you've been to the airport. But no matter if Newark is your home or not, I challenge you today to never question and never dismiss this city. This city is inspiring. Our youth are brilliant. Our educators are committed, and our community members are passionate. This is a wonderful city, and I'm very proud to be part of it. And lastly, no matter where you live or what you do, never stop investing in our youth. You may think that just editing a resume or talking to a student for a few minutes or doing a mock interview has no impact, but you have no idea. That 5-minute conversation may change that student's life forever. And you may never find out that it has. It may not happen for years for that student, but you're making an impact when you do that work. So never forget that it's all of our responsibility to invest in our students and in our future. So I want to thank Schools That Can again for this award, and thank all of you who have supported me through this journey, but especially all of you who have supported and will continue to support Schools That Can Newark in the future. Thanks so much.
Michael, I think you're on mute, so I'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Allison Slade, and I have the sincere honor not only of following Erin Sweeney, but of introducing Dr. Janice Jackson, who is getting our final Schools That Can, Leader That Can award. And when I think of a leader that can, the first person that comes to my mind is Dr. Jackson. Dr. Janice Jackson is a lifelong resident of Chicago, With over 22 years of experience working in Chicago public schools, she is nationally known and respected educator and leader in the field of education, and I have known her for 18 of those 22 years. Her life's work and commitment to public education and student outcomes began at a young age. She graduated from CPS and received her BA and MA from Chicago State University. She began her teaching career as a social studies teacher and debate team coach at South Shore High School. From there, she went on to serve as a high school principal. She started her own school, and she served as a district network chief, a chief education officer, all while completing an MA and EDD from the University of Illinois at Chicago. In 2017, she was appointed the CEO of CPS by Mayor Rahm Emanuel. She was the first CPS alumni to ever serve in this position. Dr. Jackson's tenure at CPS, the nation's third largest school district with more than 355,000 students, 38,000 employees, and an annual budget of $7 billion, is most notable for the results the district attained in advancing equitable outcomes for its students under Dr. Jackson's tenure. In fact, Bill Gates noted the data-driven approach to student success developed under Dr. Jackson's leadership was a model for the nation. Her efforts, along with those of Chicago's dedicated teachers and principals, propelled CPS students to record-breaking improvements in academic achievement, high school graduation, and post-secondary completion. Education experts across the country regard Chicago as a national leader in improving results for young people at scale because Dr. Jackson is a leader that can. Upon leaving CPS after 22 years, Jackson joined the Carnegie Foundation as a senior fellow, where she is focusing on equity issues such as improving high school and college attainment nationwide and ensuring that African American, Latinx, and Indigenous students receive exemplary education and social and emotional support. She was also selected as a 2021 resident fellow for the Institute of Politics at the University of Chicago. Dr. Jackson became CEO of Hope Chicago in September 2021, a new two-generation scholarship organization that will eliminate barriers to educational and economic equity by guaranteeing debt-free college and wraparound support services to Hope scholars and their parents. Jackson brings dynamic leadership, deep knowledge of student need and circumstance, and a personal passion for transforming lives through education to this work. She is also a board member of the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, otherwise known as CASTLE, the Chicago Children's Advocacy Center, and A Better Chicago. I am truly honored to turn the microphone over to Dr. Janice Jackson, who is our final Leader That Can awardee. Dr. Jackson?
I'm here, but it's saying that the host won't allow me to turn on my camera, but thank you. So I don't know if that can be adjusted. But thank you for being here, and I hope to see you. Okay, start my video. All right, welcome to Zoom land. Good evening or afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. Janice Jackson. I feel like I have to cede some of my time after that long introduction from Allison. Thank you for sharing so much information about my tenure, and more importantly for giving me this award. I would be remiss if I did not thank the entire Schools That Can network, including Michael, Allison, and all of the other members of the nominating committee. It is an honor to be here today with like-minded people who are really focused on the fight to support our students across this great country. So I'll share just a few remarks. I know you guys have been on the call for a while, but anytime I have an opportunity to network and just converse with people that have collectively signed up for this work, it's always an opportunity that I don't take for granted. You guys are focused on a lot of the same things that we're doing at Hope Chicago and things that I focused on in my prior time at Chicago Public Schools. Most notably is ensuring that our students have access to more opportunities, because we know that talent is ubiquitous, but the opportunities are not. And if we can continue to focus on readiness, focus on making sure that people have a fair chance that we will start to see some of the tides change over time. I think the other thing that's important to note is that leading and operating during this time is very different, and it's unlike any other time we've experienced in the history of this country, or the world for that matter. And that requires a different type of leadership. It requires a fierce leadership and also transformational leadership, because the work that needs to be done both from a social emotional standpoint as well as an academic standpoint is just beyond even, I find it difficult to even describe how big and complex this is as an undertaking. But I believe through public and private partnerships like the ones that you guys offer in your respective cities are key and critical in order to make that kind of change. Districts can't do it alone. Nonprofits can't do it all by themselves. Universities can't do it. It really does require concerted effort across various group of stakeholders in order to get this done. Here in Chicago, and probably similarly to those of you in other places, we're dealing with so many pandemics at once. We, as a former superintendent, I dealt with the effects of the pandemic, learning loss, access to food, access to special services. But we also deal with daily issues of violence in our city. The reality is, for majority of our students, it is not a safe place to be. And so how do you reconcile all of that? How do you provide the supports that students need in order to be successful and feel safe so that we can do the work that's incredibly important, which is to teach and educate them? I think Chicago was making a lot of great progress prior to the pandemic. And I should also note, I was very proud of the work that the district did during the pandemic, despite challenging circumstances. But the thing that I want to leave everybody with on this call is that what got us here won't get us to where we need to go as we think about a post-pandemic environment. That means that our students have greater needs, and that's going to require much more from us. That means that districts, while they may have more financial resources in the short term, are grappling with staffing shortages and other things that make this work even more difficult. And so partnerships like the ones that you support in your different districts are critical at this time. And I would even say they need to be expanded in order to support districts through this transition and make sure that our students and educators thrive and not just get by. And so I thank you for honoring me as a leader that can. I'm happy to still be in this fight, although maybe in a different position. But the work that we're doing at Hope Chicago around helping students transition, career readiness, access to jobs is, I know, near and dear to your mission. And I'm just glad to be a part of this network and look forward to continuing to work with you and just engage with you in the coming, I'm sorry, my phone was ringing, to engage with you in the coming year, in the years to come. And so if there's ever a way that I can be supportive, either as a connection to work that's happening here in CPS, or if folks want to learn more about the 2-generation model that we're doing at Hope Chicago, that I think is going to be transformative, because we are dealing with multi-pronged issues through a multi-generational solution, which really doesn't happen that often. So it's exciting to be here today to talk about the work, that's ahead of us, but to know that there are other people like you who have joined this fight and stay committed to helping kids across this nation. So Allison, again, thank you for inviting me. I wish this was in person. I would have loved an opportunity to come to New York, but I'm sure there will be other opportunities in the future. So thank you guys for this award. It truly is an honor.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for those wise and inspiring message. And we look forward to working with you in Chicago and elsewhere in future years. A shout out to all Leader That Can awardees who now join a very long list of respected industry, education, and community leaders who've been honored in prior years. Thank you for your work and helping to make the world a better place. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our RFK Urban Education Awards and our presenter, Karen Robinson from RFK Human Rights. I just want to say first a word about how meaningful it is for Schools That Can and to our awardees who win these awards to recognize individuals with the RFK Urban Education Award. The legacy of Robert F. Kennedy is very special to us, and it has a special meaning for Schools That Can and for our honorees, and I'm sure for all of those who have joined on this call today. The way it works is that each year we have the delightful opportunity to identify remarkable candidates for this prestigious award. We present these long list of candidates to RFK Human Rights to select the honorees, which has been a challenging task because the quality of the candidates are so extraordinary. But out of that list, Karen and her team somehow make very wise decisions. Karen has worked behind the scenes for most of these many years to make this event meaningful for our recipients. This year, we asked if she would honor us in presenting the awards, and I'm thrilled to introduce Karen to you. Thank you, Karen, for your dedication in making this process and our partnership work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. And let me start by saying that I was actually with Carrie Kennedy 2 weeks ago at a retreat, and she sent her regards. This is such an important award for us, carrying on the legacy of her father. So she's sorry she can't be here, but sends her greetings and her recognition of all the award winners. It's truly such an important time for us and an event for us at RFK. I want to get to the winners, but I have to say, I too hope that this is in person soon, because so far this has just been pure brilliance. And I know the winners coming down the line, and so the brilliance will continue, but there's so many folks who I would love to just sit with and learn from and engage with in this important work that we all care so much about. One of the education philosophers that I really love is Paulo Freire, and he talks about how education is not neutral. And when I look at the work of the winners of the Leader Award and those that are coming, you are certainly doing work that moves the arc of history in the right direction for the young people you get to work with, for the communities you work in, for your colleagues, and it truly is inspiring. And I think also of a quote by Gahil Gibran in the book The Prophet, where he says, "Work is love made visible." And it's so clear to me every time that I get to engage in this this experience with Schools That Can, that this is work. You love this work, and it starts at the very top with you, Michael. So thank you and congratulations on another fabulous year. So let's get started. Our first award winner in school leaders is Dr. Nicole Smith. Dr. Smith is the principal at Northgate High School in Pittsburgh. Since becoming an administrator, Dr. Smith has introduced the whole child concept to the secondary level. She focuses on students who have experienced adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and is changing the trajectory for these students. Dr. Smith has also provided leadership for the successful implementation of the AHN CHILL project, which puts comprehensive mental health services in the school setting, which we know is so important now more than ever. In every instance, she is forward-thinking, morally courageous administrator. So congratulations, Dr. Nicole Smith.
Thank you so much. I have to say, just listening to the people who spoke before me and how impressive and inspirational they are, I'm truly grateful to even be in the same space. As I humbly prepared for the acceptance of this award, I decided that I should do some research about the award's namesake, Robert F. Kennedy. And I found that he was infamous for taking down mob boss Jimmy Hoffa. But that didn't sound necessarily like what I was winning this award for. So I then found out that RFK had worked with many others to open up the Prince Edward County free schools after Prince Edward County, Virginia decided that they'd rather not offer public education if it meant that they had to have integrated schools. And so that sounded a lot more like something that I might be associated with, although I certainly wouldn't mind knowing where Jimmy Hoffa's body is buried. But all jokes aside, at some point in our society, we as a culture decided that there should be winners and losers. And unfortunately, we have allowed that mindset to infiltrate our education system. When we educate systems in a student that prioritizes some over others, we all end up losing. It was actually John F. Kennedy who said that no American is ever made better off by pulling a fellow American down. And every American is made better off when any one of us is made better off. A rising tide raises all boats. And even though JFK was talking about economic prosperity, the sentiment is equally true when it comes to student success. If we want to end generational poverty and we want to disrupt epigenetic traumatic responses, we have to start finding a way that all of our students can be winners. We have to support and grow the whole child. By prioritizing developmental relationships, supportive environments, and skill and mindset building in a systematic approach, we can reverse the negative effects of childhood trauma and ensure that all children are able to grow at exceptional rates. I have been with the Northgate School District for 18 years, and I'm extremely proud of all of the work that has been happening there. Our school is working to address all needs of all children so that everyone can win. And while I'm grateful for this recognition, it is only possible because I am surrounded by tenacious educators who believe that every student deserves an education that propels them to a prosperous future. I'm also extremely grateful for our partnership with Schools That Can, especially Carol, Bryn, and Rachel, who have served our school passionately and selflessly. Robert F. Kennedy said that every time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. And I am just grateful that you have allowed me to be a ripple in your current. So thank you very much.
Start my video. All right. Thank you so much and congratulations, Dr. Smith. Our next awardee under school leadership is Tashon Haywood. She's the principal of Queens Preparatory Academy. Principal Haywood is part of the team that transformed Springfield Gardens High School into Springfield Gardens Educational Campus. Queens Preparatory Academy was founded in the Springfield Gardens High School. Now, at Queens Prep, 87% of students graduate in 4 years. Principal Haywood is dedicated to provide college and career access opportunities to underserved youth, particularly Black and Brown young people in immigrant communities. She's committed to diversity and advocacy for the LGBTQ community and creating safe spaces for gender and cultural identity expression in our schools. Congratulations, and our next winner is Tashon Haywood.
Hello, everyone. Okay, it's great to be here this evening and to be nominated and to receive such a prestigious award, and I am humbled and honored to be around, accompanied by such great educators. Your words, your message, your energy is extremely inspiring, and it's absolutely beautiful to be surrounded by people who are really invested and deeply engaged in this work of freedom and liberation for our children. I was so pleased to meet Michael Druckman and to be able to establish this partnership a couple of years ago. And I just want to speak about how it came about. It came about from when I first began teaching many years ago, 27, 28 years ago. I got in touch with one of my students where I taught 3 siblings, and she is now an engineer with a very famous, very good corporation, Northman Grumman Corporation, and we talked for quite a while, and she was the liaison to introduce me to Michael in terms of the work that I have been doing with the students. And her statement to me was that, Ms. Haywood, you were the teacher that just pushed and pushed and pushed for us to do well in mathematics for all of us. We didn't understand why, but we're so grateful that you did. I was humbled by that, and also humbled by the fact that her being in my life those years ago has led to this opportunity where I can bless other students. I'm very honored to receive this Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Award, as he is an advocate for civil rights and proposed a civil rights legislation act, as well as we know that public education is a civil right. It is a birthright, it's a civil right of our country. It is the equalizer, the avenue by which we can change generations upon generations. And giving our students a wonderful education, meaning that equity education, where it actually does mean after the 4 years that they can really sustain themselves in our society as active citizens and careers, is extremely important. And doing this work with Schools That Can has really opened that for us, where we have really centered our work around this career readiness. So these 2 years have been wonderful, working with Jamel, Saida, and our teachers, Mr. Bednar, and Ms. Fitzgibbons, really pushing this for our community, and our students are partnership. And why it's very important is I have to go back to another story. I remember doing my master's at NYU, and we had an internship in the summer, and I went to Brookhaven Lab. And I was astounded, I had to say, meeting the scientists there. We had great relationships working with them. But I would say about 90% of them said that they moved from high school to that position. And they learned everything that they needed through that job in that position. And they were scientists doing great work. And so I just bring that forward in terms of the work that we're doing, especially in this 21st century, and our students being prepared for careers that we can't even name right now. But how do we give them a viable entry from now, from graduating high school to viable careers that they can succeed at? And so having this real approach to creating equity and career readiness, and readiness for our students to enter into careers, and that would include more study, post-secondary study as well. I find this work to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to doing more and more, and our students are absolutely enjoying it, and the work that they are doing is amazing, and expanding their understanding of careers, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
What happened? Oh, come on.
Schools That Can, I could not ask students that reside from Queens South, and them having these opportunities is beautiful. So I thank you again.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, Principal Haywood. And now to the teachers. Our first honoree is David Brown. David teaches grades 10 to 12 at Woodland Hills High School in Pittsburgh. He puts an emphasis on connecting with community, routinely going above and beyond to serve students. He begins each class with 2 minutes of meditation where students can relax and reflect. He has taken the students affected by gun violence to speak with legislators. He routinely works within the boundaries set by his students to make a connection and make learning happen in a way that works for them. His first reaction is, how can I help? And that shows in his connection, that shows in the connection he has with his students. David Brown, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all those kind words. It's been a great 16 years, and it's I couldn't have gotten to this point without a few people, and I want to thank the Schools That Can in the Pittsburgh area, and Bryn Simpson and Dr. Wooden, and also another teacher that I worked with this sort of career program that we're developing here at Woodland Hills, Mrs. Krett. And it's teaching is a tough business to be in these days, but I'm glad that I got in it, and I'm in it for the long haul. Trying to get a organization established at my high school called the Light Education Initiative. It's something that's been started in this area and will hopefully be growing to other areas. It's a social justice minded organization, and it's centered around genocide and Holocaust education. And Holocaust education is a real passion of mine. I don't want to say more words than are necessary. I'm a firm believer in less is more, and I just want to thank everybody, and especially all of the other people here that are doing just great work. It's nice to be a part of something where you're doing good things and other people are as well, and it's inspiring. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. And for our next teacher, Vonetta Reeves. Vonetta currently holds the position of School to Career Coordinator at Newark Vocational High School, a Newark Board of Education Career and Technical Education high school. A highlight of her leadership is taking almost 50 students to a variety of career and technical student competitions in which students were able to showcase what they've been learning in their career pathway programs. Her passion for ensuring all young people are able to explore career opportunities and obtain their post-secondary goals shines in every part of her work and everything she does. Congratulations.
Hi, everyone. So I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to receive this award. Thank you, Ms. Ashaki from Schools That Can. Ms. Ashaki has been awesome. And honestly, I just stepped into this role in November, and I don't think I could have actually been as successful as I am without the support of Schools That Can. So kudos to you. Thank you for Schools That Can. I've been doing this work for 22 years, and I can say, like, my students helped me. Like, they helped me just as much as I helped them. They help lead me in directions, push me to actually take on leadership roles that I didn't think that I could. So, like, this award is definitely an award that's one that I received, but I feel like my students received. Just today, I just want to share a story and just say thank you again. But one of my students came to me, and she's an immigrant, and she's been, she put in the application to receive a Social Security number, and without that number, she can't work. So she's been stressing because she's unable to get a job without it this summer. And she came and she stood waiting for me to finish up what I was doing for like 10 minutes outside the room. And I had no idea what she actually wanted, but she was like, Ms. Reeves, I just had to share with you that my application was approved and I received my Social Security number. So Ms. Reeves, where can I work at? So immediately, we were on it. We did find her placement. It was too late for one job, that particular job she wanted, but we did find her a job. And those are the things that keep me doing what I'm doing. So again, thank you for this award. And thank you again to Schools That Can.
Congratulations. And last but most certainly not least, the students. Our first student honoree is Blair Bales. He's a junior at Queens Preparatory Academy in Queens, New York. His ambition is to become a speech pathologist, and he's passionate about helping others. Recently, he assisted in organizing the blood drive at Queens Preparatory Academy. His diligence, commitment, and passion encourage many people to donate for the first time. And that's just one example of so much of his good work. Blair, congratulations.
Thank you. And Greetings, everyone. It is with great honor and respect that I received this Urban Education Award. And this award does not only represent my hard work and dedication, but also represents the unsung heroes who have stood beside me, who have stood beside me while I'm having academic adversities, like Miss Lloyd and Miss Yucht, who pushes and encourages me and also motivates me to persevere over those small mishaps throughout my life and my educational career. Also, my father, who actually had brought me to the United States and for a better life. And most importantly, my mother, unfortunately, she's not here, but just a little note for her. I would just like to say thank you for all of your, protection and work and all of your sacrifices you have done for me. And yeah, and to say that she's one of my biggest supporters I've ever met. And just to leave you with a small little lesson is that thank you, but also an acknowledgement, but also thank you for all of the leaders in the schools that can to give teachers and students the opportunity to be recognized and to just showcase their dedication for the school's community. And in the words of the great Maya Angelou, to just sum it up, she says, I aim to always leave an impact on people's lives and always to give them an opportunity to be seen. And yeah, and also thank you, and most importantly, thank you to Sierra for nominating me and giving me the opportunity for other people to see my dedication in the school and just my work. Thank you. And also thank you for this.
Congratulations again, Blair. And our final honoree of the evening is Leviticus McGraw-Sapp. Leviticus is an 11th grader at Woodland Hills High School in Pittsburgh. His commitment to bettering his community manifests in countless ways, from volunteering at the Swissvale Food Pantry to his dedication to climate justice, including co-hosting the first ever Woodland Hills Youth Climate Action Summit. Leviticus, congratulations.
First, I just want to thank God, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. And I want to thank Miss Bryn for nominating me for this award, and to Mr. Brown, who is one of my teachers, and to my family and my outstanding community and the schools that can. Because when I was younger, my mother, she always taught me to be responsible, respectful, proactive, and to always be a leader. And once I found out about the world of volunteering and humanitarian work, that allowed me to put those traits and everything that was taught to me, to put my teachings and put that into fruition and to manifest. And that happening, that allowed me to also network with various people of diverse backgrounds and heritage, and allowed me to put my skills to work for a good cause, ultimately providing me with the tools I needed to successfully give back to my community. And this was all occurring while I was maintaining a 4.0 in school and practicing the viola at home. And I say that because as I performed these deeds and such, the word got out of everything that I was doing for my community, and that opened more opportunities for me at school and in life in general. As was mentioned, I was able to go on to co-found the Woodland Hills Climate Action Team in partnership with Communitopia, Green Building Alliance, and Tree Pittsburgh. And being a part of that program and advocating for the fight against climate change, I was able to speak at various summits and outings all across the city of Pittsburgh, both virtually and in person. I was able to speak with the mayor of Pittsburgh, Mayor Ed Gainey, Representative Summer Lee, and the staffer for Representative Mike Doyle on their stances on climate change, as it is a generational problem that affects all generations from older to younger. And we also discussed how they plan on attacking the matter at hand, as it also systemically impacts minority communities. But as did volunteering at the food bank and Swissville Towers, and my in-classroom work opened a door of opportunities, another door was opened with my work with the climate action team and just networking with everyone. That door was the door that allowed me to be a part of the National Honor Society, in which I'll be the vice president of this upcoming school year. And it also allowed me to become a student intern at the Hillman Cancer Center this summer. So in essence, what I'm trying to say in saying all that, I'm saying that none of this, receiving this award or anything, would have been possible if it wasn't for my outstanding community, immediate and distant, and if it wasn't for the greatness of humanitarian work and willing to give back to my community. And so I just thank you for bestowing this award onto me, and just thank this organization as a whole for what it is.
Well, that brings us to the close of our ceremony. This is really such an exciting way to celebrate the end of the school year. A special thank you to all our honorees, our introducers, our Schools That Can team, and a special thank you again to Karen Robinson and RFK Human Rights for their partnership. And a thank you to all of you, our attendees, for participating and enjoying this last hour together. We'll see you next year, hopefully in person, with balloons and fireworks. Thank you and good evening.